Suburban politician Tiffany Henyard appears to have lost control of both governments. Now she's teasing a big announcement that she claims will result in some of her opponents being arrested and charged.
Welcome back to Gossip Galaxy. Thank you for joining us. Now let's dive right in. Tiffany Henyard, the self-proclaimed super mayor of Dolton, Illinois, is a name you might not know. But after today, you'll be hooked on her story. Henyard is currently caught up in so much controversy that it feels like a reality show. But trust me, this is all too real. She's under FBI investigation for corruption, facing eviction from her own home, and, believe it or not, still try to have her political opponent arrested. Face screaming in fear. Despite all the scandals and legal troubles, Henyard is running for re-election. Yeah, you heard that right. This is a wild, high-stakes drama with an unpredictable future. Just when you thought political scandals couldn't get...
Let's point the finger to Tiffany or allow me. I'm over it. Now it's time for me.
Let's dive into the latest events surrounding Tiffany Henyard, starting with the eviction saga. Despite being the mayor of a town and earning hundreds of thousands of dollars annually, Henyard has failed to pay rent on the house she's been living in. Flushed-faced, she and her partner, Kamal Woods, owe thousands of dollars in back rent. And yet, she holds high-paying positions as both mayor and township supervisor. Janetta Hall, the property owner, is understandably frustrated. Hall had originally planned for someone else to rent the house, but when Henyard found out, she insisted on moving in instead. Now, Henyard and Woods haven't paid rent since August. It seems like the drama all started when Henyard forced her way into Hall's rental property, and now, the situation is spiraling out of control. Face screaming in fear.
Henyard's landlord, and she says she came to this Thornton Township meeting Tuesday night hoping to get paid what she says she's...
The situation with Tiffany Henyard has taken a shocking turn. Astonished face, it seems she went to extreme lengths to prevent her landlord, Janetta Hall, from accessing the property. Normally, Hall provides a 48-hour notice before inspecting the house. But instead of complying, Henyard reportedly took matters into her own hands in a way that has raised serious eyebrows. Not only did she change the locks on the house, but she also altered the garage door code, effectively blocking Hall from entering her own property. These actions suggest that Henyard wasn't just refusing the inspection. She was actively preventing Hall from fulfilling her legal responsibilities as a landlord. Hall, understandably frustrated and exasperated, has described feeling trapped, caught between a rock and a hard place. On one hand, she's facing resistance from Henyard and Woods, who are allegedly refusing to allow her to do her job. On the other hand, she has already filed for eviction, but the couple continues to dodge the official paperwork, making it increasingly difficult to move forward with legal procedures. To make matters even worse, the local sheriff's office has been unable to serve the eviction papers, adding yet another layer of complexity to the case. Henyard's actions don't just defy the law. They appear to border on manipulation and obstruction. She's actively playing games with her landlord, all while holding a position of power. Meanwhile, Hall's mounting frustration highlights just how difficult this situation has become. What should have been a straightforward legal process, an eviction and property inspection, has spiraled into a tense, unyielding battle. Henyard is reportedly playing a game of hide-and-seek, using her position and knowledge of property law to block every effort to resolve the issue. With Hall desperate for a resolution and Henyard seemingly bent on maintaining control, this standoff has become a legal and political nightmare.
Least Mayor Tiffany Henyard has filed eviction papers. She says Henyard has not paid her rent.
The situation surrounding Tiffany Henyard and her boyfriend, Kamal Woods, has become increasingly baffling and frustrating, leaving many scratching their heads in disbelief. Despite the couple's substantial combined income of over $300,000 annually, they're refusing to pay an additional $200 in rent due to a property tax increase. This is not a case of financial hardship. Far from it. Instead, Henyard and Woods argue that the rent hike is beyond their financial means. Woods, who also earns a considerable income as part of township program, has backed this claim, only adding to the confusion and frustration. For a couple earning hundreds of thousands of dollars, balking at a relatively small rent increase is audacious, to say the least. Their outright refusal to pay comes at the direct expense of their landlord, Janetta Hall, who now finds herself at her wit's end. In a desperate move, Hall has been forced to hire a process server to track down Henyard in hopes of finally getting her into court. This is a last-ditch effort, one she feels is necessary because Henyard is actively dodging the legal process. But what makes this situation even more perplexing is the blatant irony at play. As a mayor, Henyard is expected to set a positive example for her community, one of responsibility and accountability. Yet, instead of leading by example, she is doing the exact opposite, engaging in behavior that undermines both her public position and moral standing. Hall, caught between frustration and disbelief, now regrets ever renting to Henyard, especially given the power dynamic at play. The audacity of Henyard and Woods to flat-out refuse to pay a minor rent increase, despite their massive salaries, only adds insult to injury. What should have been a straightforward matter, a simple rent adjustment, has spiraled into a legal nightmare. Hall is struggling to make any headway, while Henyard and Woods continue to evade their responsibilities. This entire ordeal serves as a stark reminder that appearances can be deceiving. Despite their high-paying jobs and public positions, Henyard and Woods are behaving in a way that is anything but responsible. Hall's disbelief is palpable. She never imagined facing this level of resistance from someone who holds public office, especially over something as personal and financial as rent. What should have been a simple issue has turned into a contentious, deeply frustrating battle, one that shows just how far Henyard is willing to go to avoid accountability.
Tonight, as another board meeting got canceled because of a lack of a quorum.
That came after a disagreement about where to hold the meeting as trustees expressed concerns for their...
The situation surrounding Tiffany Henyard continues to grow more perplexing and controversial, with shocking new developments that leave many questioning her judgment and leadership. One particular Amazon purchase on January 5, 2023, left people gasping in disbelief. A whopping $40,000 spent in a single order. Face screaming in fear, and if that wasn't enough, Henyard made 2 additional purchases that same day. One for nearly $5,000 and another for over $4,700. What on earth could she have been buying? Shopping bags? These unnecessary expenditures are even more outrageous when you consider that Henyard had unpaid checks, including a staggering $7,700 spent on Wayfair, shopping cart, money bag. But the reckless spending doesn't stop there. A September 2023 report revealed that the village of Dolton had issued over $6 million in checks to vendors, but those checks were never sent. Flush face. That's right, 589 checks just sitting there unpaid while the town drowns in debt and local businesses are left in limbo, waiting for payments that may never arrive. How did the leadership of this town become so reckless with its finances? The lack of accountability is staggering, and it doesn't end there. Dolton's police officers are also making headlines for all the wrong reasons. Some officers are raking in overtime pay that exceeds their annual salaries. One officer, whose salary was supposed to be $87,000, ended up making $114,900 in overtime. Another officer, with a base salary of $73,500, made over $12,000 in overtime. It seems like everyone in Dolton's government is cashing in while the town itself struggles to stay afloat. And yet, despite all these allegations of mismanagement, corruption, and questionable spending, Tiffany Henyard refuses to back down. She has been in an ongoing standoff with a village trustee for months, lashing out at anyone who dares question her authority. During one particularly heated public meeting, Henyard declared, "You all forget, I'm the leader. They want to hear Mayor Henyard speak. You haven't heard that." She was visibly annoyed that trustees refused to approve bills that lacked proper documentation. Frustrated, she snapped, "It's just getting to be redundant. We're tired of coming here, not having the laws followed, not having a meeting." But the trustees aren't backing down either. Trustee Jason House has been outspoken, stating that vendors are going unpaid because of a lack of transparency in Dolton's finances. "We simply cannot approve spending without knowing where the money is going." Meanwhile, Trustee Brittany Norwood didn't hold back, blasting Henyard with, "How about you be a good leader and bring proposals to the forefront. So not just us, but residents and everyone in America knows how the money is being spent. The tension is palpable and only continues to escalate. It's clear that Henyard is more interested in power and money than in working collaboratively with the board. And if you think she's backing down, think again. Recently, she took to Facebook Live to address her critics and drop bombshell threats. Collision. In a now infamous 90-minute tirade, Henyard promised to seek the arrest of her opponents, though she never specified what charges she planned to bring against them. She accused her adversaries of being part of a power and money grab, and insisted that she was the real victim in all of this. All this pointing the finger at Tiffany. You're lying on me. I'm over it. Now it's time for me to speak. Her defiant tone made one thing crystal clear. She's not going down without a fight. And yet, despite all the drama, controversy, and legal battles, Henyard is still actively campaigning for re-election. Yes, you heard that right. Even while under FBI investigation, facing eviction, and embroiled in conflicts with her own trustees, she's convinced that the residents of Dolton will stand by her. In a statement issued through her lawyer, Henyard boldly declared that she remains committed to fighting for the village and believes she will receive overwhelming support in the next election. You've got to admire her confidence, if nothing else. But whether that confidence will translate...
Look here to see her tenant in person after she says Henyard has been dodging both her and rent payments.
Tiffany Henyard's political career seems to be unraveling, and it's hard to understand how she could possibly expect to win back the trust of voters after so many scandals. One of her most vocal critics is Conna Belcher, a trustee running against Henyard for the mayor's seat. And she's not holding back. When discussing the current mayor's re-election bid, Belcher calls Henyard's decision to run again ridiculous, arguing that the community no longer wants to continue under her leadership. She points to the chaos Henyard has created in Dolton, with many residents feeling that it's long past time for a change. And the irony here? It's undeniable. Henyard, who claims to fight for the people, seems to be doing the exact opposite. Her lavish spending, particularly on extravagant parties featuring stars like R&B singer K, Michelle and rapper Jay Holiday, has raised serious questions about her priorities. But doesn't stop there. Henyard has also been using local police officers as her personal security detail, an act that has sparked even more outrage among residents. People are already frustrated with the rising crime rates, yet officers are reportedly being pulled from their regular duties and assigned to follow Henyard around town, working excessive overtime. Some officers are logging more than 100 hours of overtime in a single paycheck. For a community that feels increasingly unsafe, this is deeply concerning. At a recent public meeting, Trustee Brittany Norwood didn't mince words. Calling out Henyard's actions, she stated, "We're not saying police aren't doing their jobs. We're saying you're assigning all of them to be with you, when they should be out here protecting the residents, so we can all feel safe." This pointed criticism highlights the growing frustration over Henyard's use of public resources for personal gain. Yet, despite all of this, Henyard remains defiant. She refuses to acknowledge the damage caused under her leadership. Whether it's her ongoing eviction saga, public feuds with trustees, or even the FBI investigation into her actions, her response has been one of stubbornness, insisting that she's the one being wronged. But her combative behavior has left the village in disarray. Local finances are in a state of near collapse, and residents are growing increasingly upset. And it's not just in Dolton. As supervisor of the Thornton Township, Henyard's financial management has drawn even more scrutiny. Township records show that she and her team racked up over $67,000 in travel expenses, with trips to Portland, Austin, Atlanta, and New York City. These weren't budget-friendly trips, either. They included first-class flights and stays in luxury hotels like the Four Seasons in New York and the Marriott Marquis in Times Square, where they spent a jaw-dropping $133,000. And the big question? How does Henyard justify this kind of spending when Dolton is struggling financially? Many disgruntled residents have even compared her to South American dictators, accusing her of turning Dolton into her personal playground. Whether it's throwing lavish parties, using local police for security, or spending taxpayer money on extravagant travel. The picture that emerges is clear. Henyard seems far more interested in serving herself than the community she was elected to lead. Her behavior has become hard to ignore, and as more details come to light, it's becoming increasingly clear that she has lost touch with the people she's supposed to serve. While Dolton grapples with financial instability and rising crime rates, Henyard appears more concerned with promoting her own image and securing personal comfort. And the longer this continues, the harder it will be for her to regain the trust of her constituents. Despite the mounting pressure and growing public frustration, Henyard refuses to back down. She insists that she's a victim in all of this, blaming others for the very problems that have plagued Dolton under her leadership. However, as more residents and public figures call out her failures, her financial missteps, her mishandling of taxpayer funds, and her blatant misuse of public resources, it's becoming impossible to defend her actions. While Henyard refuses to take responsibility, the residents of Dolton are demanding change. The frustration is palpable, and the calls for new leadership are growing louder with each passing day. Henyard may insist that she's being wronged, but the evidence against her is mounting, and it's becoming crystal clear she has failed Dolton. Perhaps even more damning is Henyard's refusal to acknowledge the gravity of the situation. She seems to be in denial, focusing instead on defending herself and casting blame elsewhere. As the pressure mounts, it's becoming increasingly difficult to see how Henyard can salvage her reputation, much less regain the trust of voters. The people of Dolton are fed up. They want change. Henyard's time as mayor has been marked by one scandal after another, and with each new revelation, her grip on power weakens. Her financial missteps, extravagant spending, and failure to address critical issues have left many questioning her leadership abilities. Meanwhile, the town continues to struggle with rising crime and financial instability, further highlighting her inability to manage the needs of the community. As Henyard's approval rating plummets and new scandals emerge, the prospect of her retaining office seems increasingly unlikely. The town is in disarray, and the people of Dolton are no longer willing to overlook her failures. The time for change has come. Henyard's tenure as mayor may be nearing its end. With each passing day, it becomes clearer that her leadership has been more about self-promotion and personal comfort than serving the community. Her lavish lifestyle and disregard for the needs of Dolton's residents have left many questioning whether she is even fit to continue in office. The growing discontent among the people has made one thing clear: they no longer trust her to lead. And the pressure to find a new leader has never been more intense. It's hard to see how Henyard can recover from this. She has been under intense scrutiny for so long, and with each new scandal, her chances of regaining the trust of the community seems slimmer and slimmer. Her behavior, from lavish spending to using public resources for personal gain, has alienated the very people she was elected to serve. And with crime rates continuing to rise and Dolton's finances in disarray, it's clear that the town needs a new direction. As Henyard continues her campaign for re-election, one question remains: can she really expect to win back the trust of the people? With mounting evidence against her and a growing backlash from residents, it's hard to imagine how she could convince voters that she deserves another term. The pressure is mounting. Time is running out. Her scandals, her defiant attitude, and her refusal to take responsibility for her actions have made it nearly impossible for her to hold on to power. The calls for change have never been louder. The people of Dolton are ready for new leadership. Henyard's grip on power is slipping away, and the future of her political career seems more uncertain than ever. What do you think? Can someone who has been under such intense scrutiny really hope to win back the trust of the people? Or has Tiffany Henyard's time as mayor finally come to an end? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe for more updates on this ongoing political saga. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We'll see you in the next one.